Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Salisbury 500. My name is John DePietro. It's a pleasure to welcome you here. You're wondering, Salisbury 500? Well, it's a collection of interviews that I've done with interesting people that I've met through my involvement with Assumption College, which happens to be located on 500 Salisbury Street in Worcester. Now, I should tell you right up front, this show is not sponsored by Assumption, sanctioned by Assumption. In fact, Assumption may not even know about it, but we want to let people know about it. And what I would ask you to do as a big favor to me is down at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a little button that says subscribe. Please hit that button, and then a little bell will appear, and then hit the bell. That means every time we do another segment, you're going to be one of the first persons that's notified for it. So with that being said, let's welcome our guest, number 23, from Maryland. Let's say hello to Courtland Bluford, for, believe it or not, from the class of 2010.
Yes,
Bluford,
indeed.
I'm going to call you Bluford because I never even knew your first name until you graduated. Welcome to the event here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
You know, you've been out for 10 years. You're still wearing that Assumption shirt. I don't know if people can see it. Yep, your Assumption shirt. You've left Assumption, but Assumption hasn't left you. Is that right?
Absolutely. I bleed it. Assumption has shaped me as an individual. Leaving Maryland, I was underneath my parents' wing. Assumption has educated me. I mean, as far as yourself being an alumni, educating me on and off the court, Coach DeBerry, some of my seniors at the time, Greg Toomey, Hotchkiss, a lot of them educated me throughout, and it stuck with me today.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, you had a successful basketball career, and many times when basketball is over or the sport is over, people's lives kind of go downhill. You talk about sports, and now the journey is just beginning. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you mean by that, and how can you differentiate it from that spiral that many athletes have?
Man, I went through, I would say probably a 4 to 5 year period of a downward spiral for myself. Mentally, not knowing who I was because my identity was attached to basketball. I was Courtland, the basketball player, and not being able to do that. Fortunate enough for me, I was able to go on to play professional basketball, but that was only because I wasn't able to handle the fact that I couldn't play basketball anymore. So I forced a way, which was like leaving a job that I should have kept with Polar Beverages. Great job. And I appreciate Dewey and the rest of that family taking me in. Okay. And doing a lot of different things in terms of sleeping out of my car to find the next gig and leaving my home here in Boston and forcing it. Now, it was a great experience. Do not get me wrong. But I say the journey just begins because I translate the showing up 2 hours early or an hour early before practice to prepare for the event that's coming up. Mm-hmm. Being dressed, being able to prepare by studying the teammates, or maybe studying the competition, or maybe studying the environment that you're going into. Communication, being able to communicate during the close part of the game. Being able to communicate in a meeting, being able to communicate to my coaches, assistant coaches, being able to respect their opinion given to me. Using a lot of these different things, I wasn't able to recognize for a 4 to 5 year period of my downward spiral, not being able to deal with that identity crisis. And I opened a podcast, which is called the What Comes Next podcast, to speak to other athletes on that and help them get out of that dark area.
You know, because we did say that athletes are great on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, depending upon when all the people are coming to watch them. And for the hour after the game, they're getting the slaps on the back and et cetera, et cetera. But when the stadium lights are closed or the arena lights are off, many athletes have big problems. I know Steve Grogan from the Patriots had that issue right after he was no longer the big thing. Talk about this podcast that you're doing now and what's the reason for it?
So the podcast, I've met with several other alumni, such as James Lambert, and then I've met with NBA stars like Delonte West. And it's speaking about after the game is done for you, not based on what anything else around you, but you mentally yourself. How do you deal with it? How do you come out of it? Talk about the dark pitfalls. It's realistic. It may not hit everyone home, but it may hit one person. So for me, I was ashamed to go around Assumption because my identity at Assumption was attached to basketball. So I didn't know how to speak to my old classmates. I didn't know how to speak to my old coach. I didn't know how to speak to anyone else if they asked me how things were going. I didn't have anything. I wasn't playing basketball. I didn't really have anything because I didn't know where I was going, what my job was going to be. I didn't use that time at Assumption wisely, where I should have been finding myself, building relationships, and doing other things. I was strictly focused on basketball and not using it to find my passion. Mm-hmm. And I speak to other athletes about that.
And they have similar challenges after the game is over?
Absolutely. And that goes from high school. You could be the man in high school and super confident, and then you not go to college and play. But then college, you go to college, you play. After college is done, what do? And then professional. And that's why I got out sooner than I did, thankfully, because I had gentlemen that were 35, 40 years old still playing that would tell me, Courtland, you have a degree. Get out now. And I was thankful to have that. Now, I didn't listen the first 2 years, but eventually I saw the depression in them about what would happen if they left the game. Mm-hmm. And then that gave me an opportunity to get out. Now, some of them don't have family and friends that they can connect with. Fortunate enough for me, I had some people from Assumption to help me. I had my family. I had some friends that were able to assist me. But a lot of individuals, after you're traveling and moving, let's say month to month, or maybe every 2 to 3 months based on what team, you don't get a solid foundation of people to help you mentally get out of that dark place.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to student athletes now that are, they're the stars of the show? How can they prepare for the time that comes? I mean, even, you know what, Tom Brady is going to deal with it. And mm-hmm. Gronk and all those guys, they're all going to deal with it.
Right.
What should they be doing when they're on top to prepare for them to segue into another good situation?
Now, that's the interesting part. So I spoke to Delonte West about this, and we had a very candid conversation. Find a way to get into communications. If you love sports that much, you could become a broadcaster. Get into sports management. Find another alternative within the sport that will last you long throughout your life so that it doesn't get cut off with your age or with injury. I think that's the worst part, is when you get cut off and you don't cut off the sport. You have that longing for it. And so to find an outlet that you can engage and be there long-term would help.
Interesting. Yeah, you see that in Boston with Jerry Remy, still with the Red Sox. You see it with Tommy Heinsohn, still with the Celtics. And Gino Cappelletti had it for years and years with the Patriots. And now Scott Zolak has it. Tell us again the name of that podcast and where people can find it, because I think that's a very interesting thing that you did and something that will help other people along the way.
Excellent. It's called the What Comes Next podcast. You can find it on Google Play Store and in iTunes library for podcasts.
So we said 500 seconds, 500 Salisbury Street. The time goes by quick. Hey, you've been such an interesting guest. Will you come back with us at another time and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now?
Absolutely, for sure.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, the time is up on this version of Salisbury 500. My name is John DePietro. Stay tuned to this YouTube channel because we've got several of these programs coming up, and they all contain good information from good people to help others. My name is John DePietro. Have a great day, everybody.